In this video, we are going to go over the new Sons of Liberty Gunworks Mark I rifle, which has quickly become one of my favorite ARs on the market right now. We're going to cover some of the main features I love about this thing, all the accessories I used to make it work how I wanted, what accessories I switched out to meet my preferences, the overall shooting experience, and more. The best way to support the channel is by becoming a member of the kit page, where I provide discount codes and organize all the links to everything I talk about on the channel. Huge thank you to the sponsors who keep this channel going. Guns Online, thank you. HSL Ammo, who sponsors most if not all the ammo you see me shoot. It's fantastic. And of course, Optics Planet, thank you. I have discount codes for all of them below. To save time, check the description for the full disclosure. Let's jump into the build. Starting with the base, we of course have the 11 5-inch Mark I rifle, which doesn't look exactly like this when new, but I will say it does come in general with some fantastic parts if you want a rifle that's good to go out of the box. I've just grown accustomed to some parts that I feel like make the rifle way better, so I'll make sure to go over everything I switched out and why later in the video. Some things a lot of people switch out the second they get home, which I think you can easily leave alone and still love the rifle, is their charging handle, which is actually really good. The trigger it comes with, which really was fantastic. I just like the geissele more. And their buffer system and bolt carrier group, which I actually didn't touch because those are two things they did incredibly well on. I'll talk more about those in a second. Some of the features I love that Sons of Liberty incorporated into the Mark I are a flared magwell, heat relief cuts in the handguard and upper, which actually work, a slightly thicker barrel with the 5/8 by 24 threads, which manages heat very well while also making the barrel stronger. The materials they decided to use for their barrels was very well thought out. They have two different types of barrels, a chromoly steel and a stainless steel version, both of them extremely well made out of a particular steel that's designed to outlast pretty much every other wearable part on the AR. I really love a company that puts a huge emphasis on the barrel. The barrel is one of the most important parts of the gun that you want to make sure is high quality, and I think they did absolutely everything that they could to get one of the highest quality barrels they could inside of this thing. And you might not like this, but I really love it when a company doesn't get too fancy with ambi controls. When I see ambi controls, I just see failure points if they aren't done perfectly. So I love that instead of ambi stuff, they gave me a ton of features I care about and none that I don't. An A5 buffer spring and weight setup, which makes shooting this thing so smooth and easy to fire literally as fast as you want. And no, I was not using an FRT in the intro. That's just what you can do with this thing and a good quality trigger. You get fencing around important buttons like your mag release and bolt catch, which I love. They laser stippled the entire handguard, which feels awesome. They originally weren't going to offer this on the civilian version of the Mark I, but they decided to add it, which I thought was cool of them, because to texture a handguard like this takes a ton of time on the machine. Their bolt carrier group is NP3 coated, super easy to clean, huge fan. There are no sharp edges on the lower, which makes it extremely comfortable to hold. There's a special coating on their titanium barrel nut that makes it stay cooler longer. Another hot take, I also love that 5.56 is lasered onto the dust cover. I have multiple rifles where sometimes I don't know if I'm mixing a 300 blackout upper with a 5.56, and the visual confirmation is awesome. I'm actually going to start doing this with all of my short rifles so I can easily identify what's what. Huge fan of all of these features so far. The last thing is probably their Cerakote camo pattern, which I'm a huge fan of. I wish more companies were offering guns with as nice of a Cerakote pattern as this. It's just one more thing you don't have to do yourself, and they did such a good job with it. And now that we've made it through some of my favorite features that this comes with, let's go over what I changed out and why. Starting with the charging handle, I switched theirs out for the X2 Dev Group Jackal, which unfortunately these are no longer available, so I only put the ones I have left on rifles I know I'll be running a ton. If I couldn't run the Jackal, then I would either leave it as the one it comes with or switch to a classic Radian Raptor. I did switch out the safety selector to a Radian Talon because I hate literally every other selector except for this one. Theirs wasn't bad, Radian just ruined all the others for me. Like I said before, I also switched out their trigger for a geissele combat trigger. These allow me to shoot insanely fast while also being extremely reliable. They're also just so well made. The wall is stout, the break is crisp, the reset is fantastic. These are for sure one of my favorite triggers on the market. I did switch their grip from a B5 to a Magpul K2+. The rubber texture is extremely comfortable, as well as the grip angle is just perfect, love these. And the last thing I switched out was their Hux muzzle device because I wanted to run the Banish Speed K, which has a dead air Xeno mount. So I swapped the Hux for a dead air Xeno 3-prong, which I've said in other videos is fantastic. Their taper reverse thread design is incredible and I've had zero issues with it so far. Big fan overall. Speaking of the Banish Speed K, this thing is honestly insane. It's a full titanium suppressor that's 4 inches long, which is plenty, and weighs only 8.5 ounces. Though the titanium version is not full auto rated, they do have an Inconel version that is, so if you value that more, you add a little weight for a lot of strength. But I've been insanely impressed with the titanium version so far. I honestly thought, because it's so perfectly sized at 4 inches, which is plenty, that it would spark like crazy, but it did so well at flash mitigation, I was genuinely shocked at the performance, especially on an 11.5 build. I've seen way sparkier cans that are way bigger that don't mitigate flash as well as this one did, so huge props to Banish for this thing. 10 out of 10, I'll be buying the Inconel version at some point. I love it. The light setup is what I've been running on a ton of my other builds. Huge fan of Surefire Scout turbos. These are extremely bright and very reliable. The cap is a dual switch, also from Surefire, and connected is a Unity switch with the cables being managed with some goon tape. Love this setup. I always throw on an M-lock to pick rail adapter so I can use a bipod when needed. This allows me to quick detach my bipod for weight savings, and it's the best option I found so far for that. The angled grip is from Edgar Sherman Design, and I put these on a lot of my short builds because they make the grip angle way more comfortable. They are high quality, well made, just a huge fan of them. The optic setup is one that you've seen before. I swear I talk about the Leupold Mark IV HD 1 to 4.5 in every live stream I do. It's by far one of my favorite LPVOs. Highly recommend. It's sitting on a Scalarworks mount with a Holosun 508T side mounted red dot as my secondary. Huge fan of these. I usually run a Leupold Delta Point Pro as my side dot, but I wanted to try something new, and so far I've not been disappointed. There are so many pros to this setup. The only con I think would be the price tag. This is one of the rifles where I can see why they priced it the way they did, but I also have a hard time with it because at that price you're then playing a comparison game of if I save $1,000 more I can get an HK MR556, and so you do have to weigh the options more, which gets tough. At the end of the day though, the other options in this price range aren't offering a lot of the features this one is, so I can definitely see why somebody would go with this over some of the other options out there. At least I can see why I would choose this over something else. Premium features, real innovation, huge fan of what they did here. I do want to go a little bit into the shooting experience of this thing. I was able to run it through an art room training where we shot at distance as well as in close quarters, and it performed incredibly well in every aspect. I had absolutely zero reliability issues. It ran flawlessly, and I will say this is one of the smoothest shooting ARs I own. It's just so well balanced and smooth. They really did make a fantastic fighting rifle, and this is one I'll be excited to train with for years to come, mostly because I know it's going to last that long. It's built so reliably, so well done. Huge fan. I did want to make sure I recapped that this is not like a full review of every single part that this rifle has to offer. There's another video again on Sons of Liberty's YouTube channel where they go in depth on every single innovation this rifle has to offer, so make sure you go check that out. This is really just what I love about the rifle, what I changed and updated to make the end user experience better for me. But if you're looking for more of a spec video, they have a great one on their channel. That's the build. The goal, as always, is to become as proficient as possible in your ability to protect innocent life. Make sure you take that responsibility seriously. I have more coming to the channel next week. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.